my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. But today, instead of talking about a particular book, I'm going to be answering some questions in a tag that I found online. I kind of just went and googled book lovers tag, and this one came up on Goodreads. It's got questions about book buying habits, reading habits, things like that. So I thought it'd be fun to share, and I'd love to hear your answers as well. So if you want to answer any of them down in the comments below, please do. Or I'll leave the questions in the description bar if you'd like to do a whole tag yourself. So let's just jump right into the questions. The first question is, which do you prefer? Hardback, trade paperback, or mass market paperback? My favorite books to read are the trade paperback. Those are the ones that are still pretty big, but they're not hardcover. I love those the best. The little mass market paperback ones I find too hard to read, especially the older I get. And it's just the print's too small, the book's too small, I'm not about it. But I like the comfort of a paperback. So hardcover would be my second choice, but trade paperback is number one. Amazon or brick or mortar? Where do you prefer to buy your books? If I had my way, brick or mortar for sure. I much prefer going into an actual physical store. But right now I live in a very small town and we do not have a bookstore. The only place in town to buy books is Walmart, and that's usually whatever's most popular at the time. So I really miss having a bookstore to go to. So in the meantime, while we're living here, Amazon all the way. Locally owned bookshop or big name chain store? Locally owned bookshop all the way. When we lived in Windsor, there were so many amazing locally owned bookstores that I loved going into. Even if the prices are a little higher, I much preferred giving my money to them over the big chains. One of the bookstores I loved when we lived in Windsor, Ontario was a bookstore called Juniper Books. I believe, I'm trying to think of what street it was on, Ottawa Street, I think. It had used and rare books. It was an absolute treasure to go into. And one of the cool things about this store was it was a house. And so the man who owned it, he kind of set it up while keeping the feel of the house. So like in the area that was the kitchen, he had all the cookbooks and things like that. And, you know, in the bathroom, he had like plumbing books and sort of DIY books. And then in the bedrooms, he'd have novels. And it was just so cool, and you could tell he loved it, and I loved supporting him. Bookmark or dog ear? This is going to be controversial, but dog ear. If I have a bookmark, I'll use it if it's nearby, but I have no problem dog earing a page. I like my books to look good and loved, and that just adds to it. Alphabetized by author or alphabetized by title or random? Random, we'll say. I've tried alphabetizing by author, but it gets to be too much, and then there's too much shuffling around when you add a new book. If I had a finished collection, it would definitely be alphabetized by author, but for one that's constantly growing, it's too much shuffling, so I just shove them in wherever. And the thing is, I always know where I put it on the bookshelves. It can be 2 years later and I'll be like, I need this one book, and I'll know exactly where I put it last. I don't know how, but I do. Keep, throw away, or sell? I keep most of my books. If it was a book that didn't really resonate with me or I didn't really enjoy, some I will donate to either the library or a church or something like that. But for the most part, I do keep them. Books are like my big thing. I feel like everyone has their thing that they collect, and for me it's books. Keep dust jacket or toss it? Keep the dust jacket. Who throws away the dust jacket? That feels like, oh, keep the dust jacket. Short story or novel? Novel. Though I do love a good short story. I appreciate it so much because it's so difficult to write. So as much as I love a good short story, I will pick novel just because I do like that longer story. Do you prefer a collection of short stories which a collection is by the same author, or an anthology. And an anthology is short stories in a book, all by different authors. And I would say collection, just because if I am picking up a particular author's short stories, I'm pretty sure that they're all going to be decent, or at least the majority of them will be. Whereas with an anthology, it's pretty touch or go, I find. Stop reading when tired or at a chapter break. I will try with all my might to get to a chapter break before I stop reading. But sometimes you get too tired and you just gotta stop. It was a dark and stormy night, or once upon a time. I think I would have to go with it was a dark and stormy night. Buy or borrow? Both. I put a good few miles on my library, and especially have in the past. If it's an author that I'm excited about their book coming out, I will buy it right off the bat. On the other hand, if it's a book that I've borrowed that really affects me, I'll pick it up after I've already read it at the library. New or used? I don't mind either way. If I can find it used, excellent. If it's something new, obviously, I'm excited to read it. I'm not going to wait until I can find a used copy. But I love used bookstores. They're my fave. When you're going to buy a book, do you go off book reviews, recommendations, or do you just browse? I'd say a little bit of each. If it's a book I'm not sure about or an author I'm not sure about, I'll look up book reviews. If someone gives me a recommendation, especially if it's someone who I know has similar tastes as me, I will take it, and I also just love to browse. Tidy ending or cliffhanger? Tidy ending for the most part, but I have read some standalone books that had cliffhanger endings that were really excellent. Morning, afternoon, or nighttime reading? I am almost exclusively a nighttime reader. I'll go up to bed about an hour or so before I want to go to sleep, and that's when I get the majority of my reading done. And just from doing that, I'm able to finish about a book a week, except for this week. Single volume or series? Single volume. I mean, there's some excellent series that I love, but for the most part, I prefer single volume. Favorite books read last year? Well, I did a whole video on that. I can link it down below. Some of the books on that list included were All My Puny Sorrows by Miriam Taves, The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. But yeah, if you want to hear a more comprehensive list of my favorite books that I read in 2017, please go check that out. And that, you guys, is the whole tag. Like I said, I will also leave the questions in the description if you would like to answer this tag yourself. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. I was just editing this video and I realized I forgot to say today's shout out. And today's shout out goes to my dear friend Belinda Soto here on YouTube. She does all kinds of hauls and incredibly beautiful DIYs that are done with a lot of like dollar store products, and she's just so crafty and so awesome. If you're into that, please check her out, and when you do, please let her know that I sent you. Bye, guys.